Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chanel Cocolamore Saramines, and here on my channel, I like to welcome everybody with open arms. Today we have a very special guest, and his name is Hodge. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, my name's Jed Hodges. Most people call me Hodge. I have a couple of YouTube channels, and one of those is called United We Rant, and that is where I try to, I guess you say, raise awareness or educate on LGBT issues. And right now, I'm concentrating more on transgender, being transgender. Yeah, so I try to bring up more information about that because I've noticed that a lot of people say the wrong things or they offend or something, and it's straight. And the one common thing I've noticed, at least, that is just being ignorant. They don't know, and once they learn and get exposed to it, then usually their mind changes, which is exactly what happened to me. If you guys ever seen any of my videos, I've talked about where I was in a previous relationship for like 2 years with a transgender female, a type of female I thought I would never even date. And so that changed my perspective on that and a lot of other things. And it's forced me to look at things from a neutral standpoint and actually do research and stuff. So doing that is, it's, as a person, it's made me a lot better person. So now I've set up a channel to put out information and so people can get exposed to this and learn. And hopefully the ones that are where I used to be can get to where I'm at now. And just for the record, on the side, I'm a personal trainer, and I do it online and in person. That's what I do for a living, in case anybody's wondering. But this is more of like a side project that's becoming more of a main project as we keep going into it.
I know, I'm super excited to have you on my channel. And my very first question is, I think we talked about this last night. What do you think about Donald Trump trying to enforce like trans women going to like the gender that they were born in versus the gender that they want to be or
I
identify themselves as?
I haven't heard anything about Donald Trump doing that. Right now, it seems like he's putting all of his focus on this coronavirus issue and trying to get everybody back to work so the economy can come back up. I don't know any
Well, like
specific.
in the beginning when he first became president, there were a lot of trans women that were having issues. Like he had like there were talks of him saying that we would have to have our birth certificate like in the bathroom, like as proof that we have the gender marker changed.
Oh, the bathroom thing's a state rule. That's my under because in my state, North Carolina, where I'm from, I don't live there now. I currently live in Hawaii, but in North Carolina, the bathroom thing is that state has made it to where you have to go by gender, by birth, or gender that's on your documentation.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, and I don't like that at all. I think, being here in Hawaii, we don't give a shit. If somebody's trans female, she uses the female bathroom. And I know female to males that use the male bathroom and nobody says anything because it's, well, first off, it's, I don't want to say not, but it's less taboo here. But, we're exposed to it more on this island. Me, one thing that I got exposed to when I came here, I noticed that the LGBT community in general is a lot bigger here than some other areas. So I think the problem with states like North Carolina is they're exposed to it enough to make the right decision. Because, like I told you last night, if a guy is taking a piss and like this attractive trans female walks in, you're going to get uncomfortable, and you're going to be like, "Man, we probably should have thought differently." And now you are also setting up for violence, abuse that could happen in the bathrooms. If who's to say trans female has to go into that bathroom just because they're marked, their documentation says male, and there's a couple of bigots in there that don't like their kind, and they go whipping their ass in the bathroom. Now you've got you got a violence issue that may be overlooked because there's transgender involved, and that could make him easily sweep it under the rug. So, and the reasoning behind this is because they're talking about molestation of kids, and that is just like the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If number one, if whose little kid is going in the bathroom, first off, you can't stop a lawbreaker with another law. It's the whole same thing with gun control. Like they want to keep banning guns, but yet criminals still able to get them. So they want to stop people going to bathrooms and molesting children by changing the bathroom rule, and that doesn't make sense. So my question is, if you're 3 or 4-year-olds in the bathroom getting molested, where the fuck are the parents? I know those kids aren't going in there at 11 o'clock at night when nobody's around. I mean, parents, you're not watching over your kids. You're not paying. I mean, some kids are a little old enough to where they can go in there and can still get molested. But at the same time, like, usually public bathrooms are not empty. And where the fuck are the parents at? Or do they not have some kind of, it just doesn't, I don't see somebody walking in the bathroom in the middle of the day and just raping someone. It does not make sense. And if that's the case, if that's the reason why you do it, where are the separate bathrooms for Catholic priests that have been proven of molesting little boys? Where's their bathroom? So what it is people are fucking scared and they just want to fucking bring the hammer down because they don't understand something, and they're unwilling to educate because of what they think their religion says, which I could go into that and say that that's full of shit too. But as far as the Donald Trump involvement, the only thing I really read on him was he gave it to the states to choose whether or not they could allow for that type of stuff. And that's just with bathrooms, that's with like everything. And so, like I told you last night, I'm big on states' rights. I like states having more power, but I don't think that was the correct law to exercise that principle with, because the states are not educated enough to have that, to take that on that responsibility. But at the same time, if you have a state that's being discriminating, then eventually people are going to be like, fuck this place. I'm moving over here. I'm moving over there. Your population goes down. Your economy suffers. And now you got to start rethinking stuff. Think about like some of the states that have the NBA and the All-Star game and Marvel films, movies. I think Georgia was one of them. They were trying to pass the bathroom law and for going against transgenders, and they were like, you do this and we're pulling out and you guys are losing a lot of money, and they backed down. So that's how it's being handled. Some things need to be federal, some things need to be more state. I don't like this big mom and dad type government, but for that specific rule, not everybody's ready to have that responsibility.
Yeah, I think that and that's what makes these little girls and boys scared to even go into the bathroom. So is there like any advice that you give to any of the trans people that like are like scared to even go to a public restroom?
I know the couple people I've talked to in North Carolina or that have visited North Carolina. If they're in a hotel, they just use the bathroom before they go out. Some places have unisex bathrooms, stuff like that. But honestly, if I don't know, I would say if you're like some of the trans women in Hawaii can definitely hold their own. So I can see them going to the bathroom and not getting their ass kicked at all.
My concern is like the kids that are in high school that like really can't defend themselves. Like, they're put in a situation where they're being bullied, not even in the high school, but even like in the public, So imagine you have to go pee. You can't even do like what regular people can do because you're so scared to go into one bathroom. If you go into the boys' bathroom, there's a possibility that they might take you out and tell you that you're in the wrong bathroom. If you go into the girls' bathroom, you might get kicked out at the same time. So it's kind of like, where do you go?
Eventually you have to go somewhere and use the bathroom, and just whatever happens, they deal with it from there. But as far as on that level, I know there's a few one or two cases going to the Supreme Court right now. One's from Virginia, where there's a transgender teen that's using the bathroom. And, when I listened to what the parents said and stuff, I was like, you guys are ridiculous. And I think what it's going to take is going to take these Supreme Court cases getting up there to where the Supreme Court's finally like, you know what, this is federal. You guys got to stop doing this shit. But sadly enough, there's going to have to be more cases emerge before that happens. So hopefully there's ways to raise more awareness without it being reading more cases of people getting their ass beat, because that's the last thing I would want to happen. So you should never have to be in fear of being beat up because you got to go take a piss. That's ridiculous.
Well,
But
I think trans women are fearful every day. I don't think Hawaii is as bad, but if you
no.
go to other states, it's ridiculous. I mean, the transgender brutality rates go up every year.
And that's why we do what we do here, is so people can watch this and learn and realize what goes with being transgender. I guess you could say, like, what the I guess you could say condition. It's not, we said last night, it's definitely not a mental illness. It's just a mismatch that person cannot help. And when people can start sympathizing with that, then a lot of these rules will change. But they're not going to sympathize if they don't know. And that's where, I did a lot of research on it. And I cannot remember, it was on YouTube, it was a documentary. They did a biopsies on the brain of dead transgender individuals in Amsterdam. And they found out that male to females had a female brain and female to males had a male brain, because there's something about the hypothalamus or the nerve clusters deep in the brain, they're different depending on the sex or the gender. And they started figuring out that it's a legitimate brain body mismatch. Now, when science backs that up, you can't argue. Even the Bible stuff with the whole Sodom and Gomorrah and wanting unnatural sexual urges, if you're a straight female and you're a transgender female and you're straight, wanting to sleep with a guy is not unnatural. That is very natural. That is what, technically, I guess you say, programmed to do. Just like gay, there's been genetics to proving that gay can be genetic. It's hereditary, mostly in males from what I've read. If a guy is gay and he has the genes to be gay and has attraction to another man, that is not unnatural. So this is the stuff people have to start realizing, but they're so caught up in what they've been raised and beaten in their head growing up and stuff. And with fear combined, they're just afraid to try to open their mind and try to break through that barrier and have that epiphany.
I'm just happy that you're giving like a background, like educating the people that we're just like, it's more of a mental, like do you feel like we've been born this way? Like, or do you feel like I like learned to be a woman?
No, you were born a female.
And that goes back to what you just were talking about.
Yes.
Just like backing up saying that we have a female brain.
And because of the body you're in and parents and doctors not knowing any better, and it's not their fault at the time, they're, putting you in certain clothes, influence you to do certain things. And now there's that mental conflict. And the mental conflict is not from how you having the female brain. The conflict's coming from the outside world thinking you're male and putting you, and it's really, at that point, it's nobody's fault. But at some point you hit that wall where you're like, okay, something's not right. I got to figure out what's going on. And then you start realizing, you're female. And I've heard of different stories of different steps that women have taken to make that epiphany that they're transgender, or some just feel it ever since they were young. Some do feel it all the way back. But, once you realize that, it's time to start going, I guess, as far as socially and with your habits and stuff, going in the right direction, because the more you're forced to go into something that you're not programmed to go into, I say programming just for lack of a better term, I think the more damage that can be done. So, yeah, that's just, you were definitely born female. It's just the brain forms a trimester before the body. So with the way the chromosomes match, there's certain patterns that they can form to where the brain can go one sex, and then the body, it's like, is it going to go the way the brain does or not? We don't know. And then sometimes it goes the opposite, because it's all the same organs and stuff. And then according to what hormones are generated during that trimester, they either form the male organs or the female organs. It's all the same skin and stuff.
That is so interesting. So moving on to our next question, like, at what age, or like, go more into your past. Like, you grew up in a very like conservative.
I am from North Carolina, and not like the cities and stuff. Not from like Raleigh, Charlotte. I'm from Ashe County, West Jefferson. From you guys that are from there, more specifically, I think I spent most of my time growing up in Glendale Springs, which is right on the edge of Wilkes County. Ashe County, it's like that upper left-hand corner next to Tennessee, Virginia, where there's like no red lights and shit. It's a huge area, but very little population. A lot of white people, and that's all Southern Baptist white people just everywhere. You got some Methodists and stuff like that from people that have moved up there and grown up, but the majority of us are white, and they're old school Republicans for the most part. Even some of the liberals there are still. See, it's not. That's where I learned it wasn't a Republican or Democrat thing. Like I had family members that are Democrats, and then weren't big on the whole LGBT issue, and they're Democrats, and that's not what people usually think of when they think of Democrat. But at the same time, I'm pretty much as Republican as they get until it comes to issues like this, until it comes to social issues, and people would never suspect that. It depends on how they meet me. If they meet me by myself, then they would get surprised when my transgender girlfriend would step up. But if they meet me with her, then they would assume that I'm a big Barack Obama fan and all this stuff. So, and that's one thing that we got to stop doing. So we got to stop stereotyping people. And, but yeah, so I come from the South. I grew up, I was an Army brat, so I moved everywhere, but the most of my life growing up was in the South. Very low population, predominantly white, a lot of churchgoers in the Bible Belt. So stuff like we're talking about right now was extremely taboo. It's getting better, especially with my generation, because, as I put my story out, I've had friends contact me and, say good things about it. And one thing I realized is when the message comes from somebody on your side of the fence, sometimes more people will listen. And that's why I speak about this stuff, is so other guys like me that kind of feel the same way can step forward, or some other guys can actually get educated. Because, I was popular in high school, so, it's not like I was that kid sitting in the back of the corner, scared of everybody. I was either class clown, or I was acting up, or I was school the president of the senior class or something. So when I come out and say this stuff, there's a lot of people back home that are listening. And that's what it takes. Of course, somebody on the outside, when somebody from that group is trying to educate, you're just like, yeah, whatever, fuck you. But if it's somebody, like you that's saying it, now you want to listen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I try so hard to put these stuff out.
Well, because you're not like, people don't really hear straight men coming out saying that they've dated trans women in the past. So I feel like when a straight man does come out and admit to it, people are willing to listen.
Exactly. And it'll be other guys like me that are willing to listen.
Because a lot of people sometimes don't believe that we get all these straight men, to be honest. Like, if I would tell my friend, but like when I was in the beginning of my transition, I would tell girls like, oh yeah, I got this guy. They're like, no, he's straight. But then it's like, I am straight too, and people don't they don't see it that way. So
yeah, but that's another thing. So guys thought I was gay because I dated transgender women. I'm like, no, it's actually not. Like, that's not it, because she's a female, regardless of what's between her legs, whether it's post-op, pre-op, whatever. She is a female. I'm a guy. And she acts like a female. She starts the same stupid fights like a female, no offense. You have the same quarrels that couples have. And it's like, there's no way a guy would be doing all this stuff. And that was one of the things my friends pointed out when they were around us. Is like you guys, when they saw how we would just small bickering like a couple and stuff, they'd be like, yeah, I can see it now. She's definitely female. I can see how this is working now. I said, yeah, it's what you have to get around it. I've had friends that were guys and girls, females and male friends that didn't agree with me maybe 100%, but then they would get around a group of trans females and they would be like, dude, I see what you mean. You forget that they're transgender for a minute just because of how they act and the things they say. I said, that's right, because it's just no guy could fake it that good. No way. So so that's when you start realizing the brain body mismatch is a legit thing.
Yeah. So like, at what age did you realize that?
Oh, this is oh Lord, this is debatable. The relationship I had, I've only had one actual solid relationship with a transgender female. I've had little flings and stuff with a couple here and there, just because none of us were really in the stage to date. So we just, messed around and called it a day. And, I'm friends with some of them not, just whatever. But see, it's saying it's normal shit normal people do. It's not like a trans cis thing. And
Yeah.
but the actual relationship was in, I want to say, 2013. No. Wait, that was when I got divorced. Uh, I got that mixed up.
Oh my God. Okay.
I think maybe 2015 around 2017 maybe was when we dated. But looking back, I've seen instances where I've been like watching porn and stuff online, younger, maybe like 20s, and I'd see like a transgender or something. I'd be like, oh shit. And I'd want to look at it, but I knew it was, still had that thing in my head that like, oh, you're not supposed to watch that. Everybody's going to know. It's like, if everybody's going to know if I watch this, everybody's going to know I'm watching this shit. But I mean, at the time, I'm being stupid and trying to talk myself out of it, even though I wanted to watch it. So, and I think it's just, I'm a really curious person anyway. And I'm a nerd too. So I also want to learn about something. I want to study it and I want to find out everything. And it annoys people, but at the same time, like for this, it's good. I've seen instances back where I had maybe hinted to myself that I like that. But still, when I first met the girl that I had the relationship with, it still kind of hit me as a shock. So I didn't expect it would be, I would take it to that extent. But afterwards, once I came to terms with it and I was okay with it, that took a while, and that relationship was damaged in the process. So, but yeah, I mean, now I'm at the point to where cisgender, transgender, it doesn't matter. Pre-op, post-op doesn't matter. As long as I had that connection with the person, I'm good. But, when it comes to if I want to go for initial looks and attraction and stuff, usually I find myself going towards transgenders because I like the look. I don't know. I just do.
That's interesting.
And they
I
also,
mean,
I've also say like the little things they appreciate more too, I think. And like when holding the door open and stuff like that, because we're in a world where guys and girls are equal, and trans females want to be treated female. They want to act female, not want, but they express femininity better. So I think that's why guys are being more attracted to them, because I've seen women, gorgeous cisgender women, just walk like a dude, completely just make me soft. Like, what the fuck? It's just very unattractive. But then you see these trans women walking across the street, you're like, what the fuck? Because I didn't know somebody built like that could walk like that. And I think that's one of the reasons guys get it's a subconscious program. We're attracted to those kind of mannerisms because we're straight guys and we're looking for females.
do you
And
feel like our mannerisms are like overly done sometimes?
sometimes I think that there's a few out there that express it because they're trying really hard to show they're female, but for the most part, they're natural.
Yeah. Well, I feel like sometimes, like in the beginning of my transition, I used to overdo it, but not so much now.
Yeah, I mean
I just,
I mean, you got to. I guess. Is there a period where you kind of have to remind yourself it's okay to act like that, and that's why it's exaggerated until you get used to it, or?
I feel like I over exaggerated it because I wanted to validate myself as a female. Like I would just always overdo it because I'm like, I want to be just as feminine as like my sister or my aunties. But then it started to look like too overly done. But
Like
I've
too
learned throughout the
extra?
years. Yeah, well, I mean, I transitioned like over 10 years ago. So I think I've learned throughout the years, like what is ladylike, what is not, what is an overkill. And I've learned from so many of my family members because in the trans community, we build like our own family.
Oh yeah.
And so I've learned throughout the years. We have sons, daughters, aunties, uncles within the LGBTQ community that's like set aside from our real biological families. And
Yeah,
people don't
and in this state
understand.
alone, it's a lot stronger. I think that a group mentality. I know it exists other places, but in Hawaii, I think it's because of the Samoan culture and the Polynesian culture. I think it's taken a little bit more seriously here.
Yes, and me being I am part Samoan, and in the Samoan culture, it is very. They believe that we're like the third gender, and they treat us like goddesses in Samoa.
Yeah.
So,
But just
I
the
mean,
family part in general, though, like you said, how all the trans community acts as a family, just the family aspect in general is a lot bigger in Hawaii with all Polynesian cultures, whether it's guys and girls or guys or actual biological family or what. Like they take that
Yeah.
shit a little bit more serious than other places.
Yeah. So like what advice would you give to a guy that's like might be attracted to a trans woman and just doesn't know how to go about it?
There you have to realize that they're going to be more guarded because there's a lot of a lot of things that have happened to them growing up. And when they start dating guys and start being open about being trans, there's a lot of damage that can be done from previous guys. So it does take patience. You do have to try a little harder. You do have to don't skip to, hey, what you got on? You know, have you had your tits done? Let's fuck. You got to do you got to do your homework. You got to put a little effort into it if you really want to date the person. You know, and if one thing that I tell everybody, if I had to tell like one simple rule, she's a female, treat her like a female. That's about it. And those little things that, like I was getting at earlier, the holding the door open and stuff like that, like I think that they appreciate it more because one of the things in my relationship that I was bitched at a lot was not doing that, not holding hands, and for, you know, in a lot of relationships, I don't do that stuff, but I didn't realize that with her, it was a bigger deal because, you know, it's the same with having kids. Like you're female, so you want to have kids, but because the body you're born in, you really can't have them biologically the way that you want to. I mean, there's ways, but you know, a lot of trans women think they'll never get married and they'll never have kids. So what I started seeing is that when they have younger cousins or nieces or nephews or what, I was like, I see how they take care of them. I'm like, you know, trans women, that's another thing that got me attracted to it. It was like, I would trust having a kid with a trans woman because they wouldn't take being a mother for granted. They would put 100 bajillion% into that shit. And that's the type of mother that I would want for my kids. So I seen it with my ex, kids would just flock to her and she was so good with them. And I started realizing that, oh shit, you know, that's something they think they'll never have. So when they have a chance to you know, babysit or watch over, they really take that shit seriously. So, you know, they're going to put a lot of effort into being a mother, and that's fucking awesome. So that, you know, some of those things is reason why I think I like transgender women better, you know, and I'm from the South, so the chivalry is a little bit better there. And I think they appreciate that more.
What, I mean, in terms of transitioning, like what age do you think would be like the proper age of transitioning? And I want to get this perspective from you because I'm a trans woman, but I want to get like an outside perspective.
Well, what's funny is what I thought people would get mad at me for saying, actually some transgender women agree with. And I have one that's coming on my channel soon I'm going to interview, and we're going to talk about the basics of being transgender, like what they go through and stuff, just so people can get an idea. And that was one of the things we talked about. And the thing with, you know, if I had a son and he had the notion to start wearing women's clothes, or he thought he liked guys or something, you know, I would be like, you know, if that's what you think you want to wear, you know, try it. I'd rather people learn through the process of elimination than to pick something and then keep wondering about these other ones. Try them all out. And if he comes back and he's like, you know what, that felt really fucking weird, back, all right, we'll go back to your damn t-shirt and jeans and shit. Or, you know, but if, you know, if I find out, like, let's say my kid's like 6 and he realizes that he's a female, he likes female things, I'm not going to like say, okay, you're a female now, but I'm going to let him, you know, do that stuff. And then if, you know, I mean, I'm pretty sure the kid's going to tell you at some point when they actually realize it. You don't need to force it on them. They need to make the realization. But if he starts like playing with Barbies and shit like that, you know, as much as it may, I won't say not like it, but I might, because I didn't grow up like that. But if I see him doing it, you know, I have to tell myself, hey, man, you got to let him do this stuff because you got to find out, there's going to be a point where he's going to find out what he is. You got to support that shit. So, you know, just whenever that realization comes about, you know, I'll do whatever I can to support. As far as hormone therapy, that's where I'm kind of on the fence because I think it should be, I used to say 18, but I would say at least 16. I know it's better if you do it before puberty. I know. But
yeah.
what I get afraid of is some of these super liberal parents that see their kid, and because like when I was a kid, you know how guys are when they're little kids, like they find lipstick, whatever, and they start marking each other. And I remember I used to get in my grandma's high heels and walk around just to be an idiot, just to get people to laugh. I wasn't a female, but I see like some of these parents that all over too supportive, because to the point where they can't make rational decisions, would see that and then just start pumping hormones in their kid. And you're like, whoa, man, he's just fucking around. He's just fucking around. Leave him alone. So that's why I kind of sit back and, see what happens. But, at the same time, let's say it's that same 6-year-old kid and he's like 12, 13 now, and he's still doing these female things and he says he's female. I'm like, I might want to consider a little earlier, because I think in 6 years, if this was a phase, he would be out of it in 6 years. So, and plus, hopefully, well, not if I'm with a transgender female, if I'm married to one at that time and that's the kid we're raising, I am going to go to her for advice. I'm not going to make the decision 100% on myself, because she'll bring some things to light that I don't know about. Or if it is a cisgender woman, I would call some of my transgender friends up and be like, here's what's going on. What do you think I should do? And I would make the best decision out of what I heard. That's the best way to do it. But as far as the age that they transition, as soon as they realize it, some of the things, they can start doing, that's fine. But as far as like the hormone stuff, I got to make sure 100%, and I got to make sure it's at a point to where they're not going to be like, oops, and then we've got all this damage we got to undo. And when you think about it, I make that decision in the best interest of the kid. Because I want that kid, I want 10 years down the road, 10, 15 years down the road, I want that kid to be like, we made the right decision for him, and he made the right decision, and we did the right thing. That's what I'm worried about. I don't want to just, because, pumping hormone stuff, even if you could undo that, which you probably could, it's going to cause a lot of damage, and it's going to cause hormone therapy of the other hormones to balance it out, because I'm sure there's going to be some permanent damage. And it's just, you got to be careful. At the same time, as far as like the acting and the dressing and stuff like that, go for it. The only way we're going to find out is if you do it and you don't like it, then we realize that it was just something, it was a phase, or it was something you wanted to try.
Well, I know the youngest girl that we have right now at our clinic is like 7, but she's like on testosterone blockers, so which is different from hormones, because you can, it's nothing permanent if they go on the testosterone blockers, from what I was told by a doctor.
Well, doctor's going to tell you anything to get the medication, so I take what doctors say when it comes to prescribing shit with a grain of salt. I only trust certain ones, and I go to more than one source. Because, for instance, the spironolactone, that's a diuretic. The reason they use it as a testosterone blocker is because it's a side effect of the drug. Aldosterone is a hormone that we produce that controls our salt intake. So when bodybuilders take spironolactone, which is a generic form of aldactone, it suppresses that hormone so that we let go of the salt and let go of our water. Well, because testosterone kind of mimics that aldosterone, it tends to block testosterone too. But now these doctors will prescribe it to you and say, hey, it's a test blocker, and not even tell you the origination of the drug. And the reason I say this is because I had an incident where the person I was dating was taking just the Spiro and no estrogen. And she lost a lot of water. She got severely dehydrated. She got sick, and we couldn't figure out what was going on because she was dieting at the time. I was helping her diet for a contest. And I was like, well, are you taking the fucking Spiro? She said, yeah. I was like, why? You're not on the estrogen, because the estrogen pulls all that water on you, and the Spiro kind of balances it out. Spiro's initially a diuretic. You guys stop thinking of it as a test blocker. The test blocking is a side effect. It works, and that's why they give it to you. But it also helps you rid some of the water, which complements the estrogen. But if you take the Spiro by itself, you're going to get fucked up. And that stuff, it's a titration type thing. So you can't just stop and immediately you're fine the next day. It takes a few days to get that out of your system. So people have to realize Spiro is what is used to lower your aldosterone. So you let go of sodium. So you let go of water. It blocks testosterone as a side effect, but the fact that estrogen puts water on you, it's the perfect drug as a test blocker to complement the estrogen.
Wow. I love how you're educating us right now. It's just so much, because you're right. Like, I think that a lot of times the doctors, you have to do your own research. And I in the beginning of my transition, I didn't do a lot of research. I was just like, I want to be a girl. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, I think that you're so good at giving that information because a lot of trans women could learn from that. Like, you have to read what you're taking.
Yeah, and what type of do you do the shots or the pills? You do the shots.
I do shots.
So is the estradiol valerate?
Estradiol.
Yeah, estradiol valerate, right? The valerate's the ester that controls how fast it processes, right? And that's really slow. So what these doctors do is they give you a shot like what, every 2 weeks? Every week, every 2 weeks?
But then I've been on hormones for 10 years. So at this point, like, because I do like blood work every 3 months. We check my
Yeah.
estrogen levels and my testosterone levels. And, I'm obviously a crazy bitch when I am very low on testosterone for some, reason, which makes sense,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I try to get a balance, but it's hard, So
the way they administer it to you is what fucks up that balance because, yeah, it's a slow ester, but it works just like when bodybuilders take testosterone. When you take a bunch of it, your body's trying to keep in homeostasis. So when guys take a shit ton of testosterone at once, their body's going to produce a bunch of estrogen. But if you take that same dose and you spread it out over a week, the side effects are not as bad. But they give you.
So is that like illegal? Like the testosterone thing that you're talking about, that bodybuilders take, is that illegal for bodybuilders to take, or?
Oh, it's not. I mean, it's not. We're not. I mean, they're not prescribed it or anything, but they take it. It's just like it's one of those necessary evils that with competing. Now the everyday gym goer and stuff. No, like not everybody I train's taking shit. It's just, but I'm talking about competitive, high level bodybuilders that take it, and that's the stuff I've studied. It. Nah, no, it's not. But they don't test for it. Yeah,
but don't.
No, nobody wants to go to a bodybuilding show to see everyday people. They want to see fucking mass monsters. They want to see freaks in nature. They want to see some badass shit.
I thought they did testing. Like, they tested you guys.
No, that's no. If they tested, and the bodybuilding shows would be so shitty, nobody would ever go. And the thing is, funny about that is, I know I've seen guys in the gym that take a lot more than professional bodybuilders would ever take, and they don't look near like them. So when it comes down to it, it's the diet and training. Like on the sense of bodybuilding, those hormones are a polishing product. They just make the results a little better and can enhance the results. They don't turn them into Mr. Olympia overnight. But because of the field I'm in, I have to study these things because sometimes I get clients that use stuff, and I would rather be the one that says, here's how to do it without fucking yourself up, than be the guy that says, don't do that, and then they take a bunch of it and then they're fucked up because they're going to do it either way. So I might as well coach them on how to do it properly. So one of the things I've learned is that the more you take it one time, the worse the side effects are. And the same goes with estrogen. So if you take that estradiol, and I've experimented with this before, I want to say I had somebody try it, but let's say you take 1 cc, every 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you do a quarter cc twice a week. Monday, Thursday, guarantee your side effects will not be as bad. It takes longer to reach full concentration, but at the same time, the side effects, the water retention, the moodiness, all that will not be as bad, I believe. If there's a trans female out there that's tried this, please message me and let me know, but I'm pretty fucking sure if you take that big dose and you break it down into quarters and spread it out, or if you take 1 cc every 2 weeks, if you break it down into quarters and take it twice a week for 2 weeks, so that's a quarter cc twice a week for 2 weeks, then I guarantee it'll be better. And plus, at your point where you're already at full concentration, because you've been doing it for 10 years, probably the only thing you will notice is lower side effects. But the doctors don't want to give you the vial, and they don't want you coming in all the time. So
yeah, I used to give myself the shots, but not anymore.
So yeah, most of the doctors, they won't give the whole vial. I'm like, give them the vial and teach them how to do it right. Shit, and after that, it's on them. I mean, you can't be everybody's mom and dad, but doctors have this whole cover their ass, and they're all about making the money and shit. So if it were me, that's how I would suggest someone take it. And you probably wouldn't need as much Spiro either for the water. But I mean, I know women take the Spiro for the other reasons and stuff too. They want to block the testosterone. Some don't want to take it. because they prefer things working that don't work when they take it. And I don't know. I know someone that take both and they can still get hard as fuck. So it just depends on the person. Everybody has different hormone levels.
Depends, yeah. Which goes into my next question. What do you think about transgender people competing with the gender that they identify as? Like, for example, there was a transgender girl that I think she got backlash for competing as a transgender female bodybuilder, I believe.
Was that local?
No, I think it was like, I'm not sure if it was like in another country,
Okay.
but she competed. And what is your like thoughts on that?
Okay, I'll give you my thoughts on the whole transgender in sports period. When it comes to bodybuilding and figure and the NPC and IFBB and the physique competitions, no problem. Because if a transgender female goes to a female category, they have a lot of work to do because they have to look feminine, they have to shape their body like a female, and they're genetically predisposed to not look that way. So they have to put in some extra attuned work to get that fixed. Now, I know people want to pull the hormone card and say, well, even though she's on estrogen, she may still have testosterone, and her body's been exposed to testosterone, so it's always naturally going to be bigger and stronger. All you bitches on stage are taking more shit to where that transgender female is probably probably less enhanced than you all are with the shit you take to compete.
Wait, so you're seeing that they take testosterone too, the girl?
No, they don't take that. There's tons of different steroids besides testosterone. There's tons of them.
Oh,
So, but females will take stuff too to compete. So if you have a transgender female that's going up there natural, hell, the playing field's even if not, she's still at a disadvantage. Plus, she has to change her shape, and she has to train a certain way. She has to control her diet better because she can't get too muscular. So she probably has to eat lower protein. I would not make her train any less intense. I would still tell her to train your ass off, but you have to control the muscle growth with the food.
In a way, it's a disadvantage.
Yeah. So if they want to go in that category, fucking more power to you. You know, and I've trained somebody to do that before. And so I know this from experience. Same with a transgender male going into a men's category. First, you got to get the breast surgery. You got to get that shit removed. Then you have to make sure the scars aren't very visible. Then you have to build your chest up, which I've noticed with trans men, because the use of the breast being there, building the chest can be difficult. They have to, the one guy I worked with, we had to find very unique ways to change his grips and stuff so we could target his chest more and get it to activate. And, you know, you can tell, like, when they compete, some of them have bigger asses because the type of ethnicity they are growing up as female before they transition. So then that could stand out in a good way or a bad way. So, and they have to, their shoulders, stuff, all that has to get bigger. There's tons of different things they have to change, just like a trans female going to female category. So as far as physique competitions, not a problem. In fact, me as a trainer, I'll fucking take it on because that's a challenge and I want that. I want to be like, we're going to do this shit. That's my attitude going into it. Now, when it comes to performance, like powerlifting, track and field, whatever, it's hard to draw that line. I think a transgender male competing with the males is perfectly fine because he's going to be at a disadvantage, even if he is on testosterone therapy, because his body was produced to a lot of estrogen growing up. It's formed as a female. And some of that, no matter how hard he transitions, some of that's going to be there. He may always be a little bit weaker or a little bit less able to perform. So I have no problem with that. In fact, I think the guys would be more welcoming than the girls welcoming a trans female in to compete in their category. Now, a trans female, I know trans females that have completely no testosterone production whatsoever. They've gotten either like chemically castrated, whatever. They take estrogen and they can still they can outperform some of the guys still because they grew up apart from some point from when they were in the womb to whenever they decide to transition, whether it's a short amount of time or a long amount of time, they were exposed to testosterone. Their body formed in that pattern until they changed it. So there's going to be a little bit of an advantage. So transgender males competing with cisgender males in that category, go for it. Transgender females going with cisgender females, I'm not a big fan, and I understand the equality and stuff, but when you go and do that and you take all the powerlifting records and stuff, you just made the rest of the community look like shit, and you just made more people start looking at you all negatively. So that's one of the main reasons I get pissed about it is I understand you want to be, but now you're being selfish because you doing that is setting a bad example for the millions of other transgender people out there, and that's the last thing they need right now.
Yeah.
So humble yourself a little bit. Now, if a transgender female wants to compete with the guys, fucking go for it. I think the guys wouldn't even give a shit about that. If I get my ass beat by a transgender female, I need to get back in the gym and fucking work harder. That's how I see it. I'm not going to get mad.
Yeah.
So that's the guys should be pushing harder just so they make sure that shit doesn't happen. We talked about this on one of my podcasts on my fitness channel because a cisgender female in North Carolina, where I'm from, just won the wrestling state championship, like beat the guys. And one of the questions we brought up was, I wonder how this is going to affect the transgender community as far as competing in sports, because a cis female just beat the guys in wrestling. But you could argue that the way women are built and their center of balance and stuff, that they might have an advantage in wrestling. So I've heard of women that do men's wrestling before and have done okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think because my auntie, they coach volleyball, and so they've had this issue before, and I do agree that I just think I'm not sure. It depends. I'm like on the fence with it too. I feel like if you're on hormones for a certain period of time, then like you should be able to play volleyball with the girls, because in the NCAA they do have a rule where you have to be on hormones for at least a year. There is no records of transgender girls being like at the top. So I feel like it should be fine when it comes to like volleyball and soccer and all those sports. They haven't broken records. It's been all cisgender girls, even with and the transgender. A lot of the transgender girls that do play in the NCAA, they're not even star players. They're not even starters. So,
but is that because there's discrimination or because they're not good enough? That's the question.
Oh, see, I never thought of that. But then it's like in college, why would you even have a transgender person if they're not good?
To appease the community and saying, hey, we have a trans woman here, so you guys stop giving a shit.
Oh my God. I never thought about that. But then
yeah,
I had read an article that was saying that because a lot of people are right now, that's becoming a very big issue, I guess.
Yeah.
And a lot of colleges don't know what to do about it. I mean, and the NCAA does allow transgender girls to compete if they're on hormones for a year. And there is no no one on record, no transgender girl that's been on record that has won any All-State, All-Star, or has been at the top. And you're right. It might be because they're not starting because they're a trans person, but I'm not sure.
I would like to look at the transgender females that have taken records, like the one a year or two ago that took all the powerlifting records, and then the organization came out and said, you know what, we're catching so much shit for this, we're not going to recognize this anymore, which I think was, I hate to say it, you all that know me know I love the transgender community, but I would still say that was a good move on their part. But the I think when somebody had mentioned to my ex about powerlifting, because she was strong as fuck, and she was like, well, what are the rules? And the guy asked her, he's like, you still have everything down there? She said, yes. He goes, well, you have to at least be castrated and be on hormones. And she was like, well, she said he had that cash. She goes, well, I'm on hormones. Like, yeah, but you could tell them you're on hormones and then come off of them for a couple of weeks and go in there and just kill people. I mean, you can always mess with the dosages and stuff for that. So I can understand where he's coming from. I said, but what if you went in the guys category and beat the guys, which is a far stretch, but if you trained hard enough, you would get something, and then she started liking that idea. So I was like, so if they're going to say, put you in this cat, I mean, even if you didn't go in there and break records or beat anybody, the fact that you said, well, this is the only way they're going to let me compete, so I'm going to fucking do it. There's got to be an amount of respect you're going to gain from doing that.
Yeah.
So if I saw a transgender female that went in and competed with the guys in that category, I would be like, fuck yes, I like that a lot. Because she didn't take the discrimination. She didn't use it as a fucking excuse. She didn't like, well, why me? Boo-hoo. I can't compete. She went in there. She's like, I did this. I trained for this shit. Any way that I can do it, I'm going to go in there and do it. And that should get just as much attention as anybody that won that day. Because they tried to keep her out, and she's like, fuck you, I'm going to do this anyway. There's pride in that shit. That's a good thing. I would.
Yeah, I think I get like to see that. hate from other transgender girls when I mentioned I do agree. Because there's some things that I don't agree with that you would think that I would have to agree with because I am a trans woman. But the
Yeah,
truth of the matter is, we've been born men, and I personally am happy I don't have to go through this because I'm a dancer, so I don't have to like deal with being discriminated against in terms of being in the sports arena. But I just think that it really isn't fair. Like there was two transgender black girls that ended up taking a cisgender girl's spot in the mainland. It was a huge
yeah,
situation. They allowed, and the girls were not even on hormones, you know. And
yeah,
even if they were on hormones, like you said before, because we produce testosterone pretty much our entire lives, I mean, we do have an advantage, and I just don't agree in terms of track.
yeah,
So
yeah. And plus, I mean, especially trans females here are like badass volleyball players, from what I've heard, anyway. So, I
yes.
mean, they actually have the teams with just them, and they'll travel and compete and stuff. And I heard they do pretty good. So, I think that's kind of cool.
And my auntie had asked me like, what would I do? And I said, you know what, auntie, I'm just happy. I would just never put myself in that situation personally. Like I
Yeah,
would never put myself in a situation where it's like, okay, does she play for the girls or the boys? Especially when I feel like uncomfortable in my skin as it is,
yeah,
then like I don't want to subject myself to even more scrutiny. But it just goes back to like with the bathroom thing too, is like I've never gotten like any complaints of me going into the wrong bathroom because of, you know, the way I look. But what if I did? Like what would I do in that situation? And honestly, I really don't know. I'm a very feisty person, and I'm from Hawaii, so I'm not the one to mess with it for sure.
yes, yeah. Some of the females here, that you gotta be careful because they can hold their own for sure. So,
Yeah, and I'm just happy that we had this like open conversation, and I think everyone's gonna learn from what you just taught us. Even me, like I'm learning new things every day, and I'm learning a lot from you.
well, I mean, I'm from the outside, so I have to study this stuff in order to see where my friends are coming from, so I can relate with them better. And there's something else I was gonna say. I can't remember now, but the um, the sports thing is an issue. It's going to be you're not going to solve it without hurting somebody's feelings. But I mean, if you were to go in and we'll see a volleyball game and see two guys teams and see a female on one of the guys teams, you wouldn't say shit because every once in a while a female says, "I want to go play with the guys." They say okay. So like when I've seen here, you see a transgender female like on you'll see him if you were to go in and see a transgender female on a male volleyball team playing, probably wouldn't hear nobody probably say shit. You might have some like white people from the outside poking in and stuff, but when you get for transgender females versus cis females, that's where the issue comes in, I think.
Yeah, I think that it's very important for people to know like the difference between a cisgender and a transgender person. So do you want to go ahead and educate people?
There's differences, but there's also more similarities than people give credit for. Just like my female to male friend, we talk like guys. I've never, I never think for a minute that he used to carry himself as a female. It's hard for me. And I remember meeting him when he started his transition, or he was early in it. And I still, to this day, when I see him, I'm like, I never think of him as female because we talk like guys. And it's never, that's never been breached. So I've never seen any instances to where I've had to like remind myself he's male. Like I know he's male. There he is. That's how I feel. The same around the trans females. Like I've never, I can't think of an instance where I slipped, because when I was around them, it's just the way they act and everything. It hits those triggers, and I know that they're female. But I look at it from unbiased and unprejudiced point of view. People already have some of that stuff programmed in, so even though they may think the same way I do, they keep reminding themselves, "Oh, it's a fucking dude," and then they start being stupid.
Wow.
So
I feel like we had an amazing discussion. I'm happy.
that's really good. I think we have a lot more to come too, because we could pretty much talk a lot
Yeah,
more.
and if you ever like in the future want to interview me or whatever and get my perspective on things, I would be
We
happy.
get a panel. I want a panel. I want like cisgender, trans, gay, everybody. I want all the alphabet letters, and we all start talking about shit. And so I want people to see that just because I'm this orientation or I'm this gender does not mean I think like the majority of the population from my side does. And people will see that stuff that I say will agree with stuff that the liberal gay guy or will see, or they'll say the gay or the trans person might be Republican. They'll be like, oh, what the fuck? That's what people need to see. We're so divisive now, and everybody wants their own title and everybody wants their own thing. You're dividing yourselves. You're making yourselves weaker by dividing yourselves. Now, don't forget where you came from. Everybody needs to remember their background. Then you know where they came from. I get that. But we have a lot of similarities, and people I don't think they realize that anymore. So I in the future, when I get enough of these, me and you do enough of these interviews, we come across and meet enough people that are comfortable to talk. I would love to get panels together, and even just talking about current events, because people need to see that we all think just like everybody else. And that means that we think depending on how we're brought up, what experiences we had, not just because we're a certain gender or something. Now, those experiences stuff we have can be related to what gender we are, but that still doesn't stereotype us, So that's my ultimate goal with the whole, yeah.
Because you can have someone like me that grew up I grew up in a Mormon family. So,
oh really?
And no one would have thought that I would have some of the views that I have based off of how I look and what I've decided to do with my life in terms of transitioning.
Did you grow up West Side the whole time?
Yes, I grew up on the West Side, but I grew up in the Mormon church pretty much my entire life, and my mom is still.
Well, people don't realize the Mormon church is really big here.
Yeah, well, they get. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I would have transitioned as early as I did, because I got kicked out of the church when I was 18. So
interesting.
I went to a college in Utah. So
I've met a few. I've met a few guys that are either Mormon or former Mormons, and I've always wanted to do. I'm afraid to bring a religion issue into it, but the stuff that I've heard, I'm like, man, I don't think people realize some of this shit. And I mean, it's not on the level of like Scientology, but there is a corporate aspect to some of these religions, and I think Mormons is one of them. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but I'm saying it is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the church. Like you're talking, I'm an Eagle Scout. Like I've done everything that I was supposed to do, but unfortunately, I wasn't good enough. But my mom is still like active in the church, but she's done talks about me, like educating the church, which is actually normally forbidden. They normally would take her off the podium.
But they're changing. They're starting to change the rules and stuff a little bit here and there, though, from what I've been told. Like just so it's not as taboo. Am I right? I've heard, especially with the
they're trying not to seclude us. They're trying not to seclude us from the congregation, because I was actually excommunicated from the church when I was 18 because a bunch of white girls decided to turn me in because they see me making out with another guy. So.
Oh.
And I was actually planning to go on my mission. So.
Was the guy Mormon too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
But I changed a lot of people's opinions about LGBTQ issues when I went to Utah, because I went to a smaller college called Dixie in a very conservative, like small podunk town called St. George, Utah. And during that time, I had two things going against me. I was a very flamboyant boy, plus I wasn't white.
Yeah. You already had two strikes.
But it made me strong. It made me a stronger person.
Yeah. So. And it depends on how you deal with it. I mean, some people can go through that, like again with the sports thing, be like, "Why me? Boo hoo!" Or they can overcome it and be stronger, and go on to the next whatever life throws at them next. I mean, that's what life is about anyway. It's solving problems day by day.
People were so confused because, in the beginning of my transition, I still obviously looked, more like a boy, but I would wear dresses and stuff. I really just didn't care. But then that was just a way of expressing myself, and so I was happy to break the mold there. Small town that never seen someone like me. I was a different creature coming into a situation that I was changing people's lives, because there were little boys and girls that I'm pretty sure they were like, oh my gosh, I feel that way too, but I can't do this because my parents are gonna disown me. It's serious over there. They will literally disown their child.
Oh, I know. It's not the first time I've heard of this. So
I've
I
lost a
know.
lot of friends. I've lost a lot of friends from, in Utah because their parents didn't accept them. And
Oh well.
the suicide rates are really high in Utah because of the non-acceptance of being LGBTQ, and it's sad. So,
But that makes room for more friends that are going to be accepting, and life's going to go on and be better.
and that's why I'm hoping that I'm trying to change my channel around, and I'm trying to educate people more, not only about LGBTQ issues, but just becoming better people in society, being more understanding of people's situations.
And hopefully, with like what I was talking about with having a panel that talks about stuff, what people are going to see is they're going to stop looking at what somebody is, and they're going to start looking at who they are, and all the labels are going to be lifted, and it's going to be like, hey, who are you seeing? And it's not going to be like, what girl are you seeing, or something like that. Like stuff like that, I want to see get thrown at her down to a minimum, because I think people base a lot of decisions or a lot of assumptions based on the initial, like, what gender is this person, what sexuality is this person, and I think that needs to kind of go out the window.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, when people think of transgender people, they think we're like not as smart, that we're sex workers, which
Yeah.
maybe we'll get to that. And that is not really true. Not every trans woman is a sex worker.
No, that's not true. I know one that's a police officer in Hawaii, the first one.
Yeah. Isn't she like the only one?
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Former Green Beret, came out, transitioned, became an officer.
Yeah, because she pulled my sister over.
she's gorgeous, but she's intimidating. Like, she's really pretty, but if she pulled me over, I would shit myself.
Is she white or?
Yeah, she's Lithuanian.
Okay. Yeah, but they said that she was really pretty, but they were told by another officer that she was trans. So
yeah,
yeah,
she I guess kind of made history of being the first trans officer here. But what's cool is she didn't make a big deal about it. She made it because she did what she needed to do to make it. She didn't make it because she was trans and was trying to set that statistic. In fact, we were talking to her after we went to her graduation, and the newspapers were wanting to talk to her, and she was like, I'm not interested in doing an interview. She was really humble about it. And that, I thought that was really cool, because she wasn't like, oh, look at me. Like, she's the last person to be like that. So
yeah.
she wants to get shit because she fucking earned it. And that's a really good attitude.
Because she was a trans person.
Yeah, she's done very well from what I've heard since she's been in. It's been a while since I've talked to her. But when she first came to the island, me and her were really good friends, because she was looking for a gym to train at, and somebody told her to hit up me, and I was dating the trans woman at the time, because our gym didn't really actually, I don't know any gyms that really discriminate. And so we brought her in she found us, and we brought her into the gym, and then she moved here and became an officer. But yeah, so I mean, like you said, not everyone's a sex worker. Some of them, it's there's a lot of stereotypes. And one thing people see is, like, they'll see a trans woman that's like, sometimes we go out of the house, we're not dressed up, we just go to run an errand or something real quick, and the guys will see, and I'll be like, you can poke fun, but I guarantee she can go take an hour and doll up, and all you guys will be chasing after her. Because, I mean, that's one thing I've noticed, especially when me and my ex would go out, is just guys would just be staring at her all the time. Because, I mean, when she wanted to doll up and get attention, she knew how to do it, and she was gorgeous. And so it's funny, because I see guys looking at trans women all the time, even if they think I don't see it. I used to say it was like, what are those things called? Fucking meerkats. You ever seen like how one meerkat will turn up and look, and they'll all fucking turn up and look? Mm-hmm. That's exactly the type of shit I would see when one would walk in the room.
I think a lot of times they're staring at my boobs.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean, a lot of trans women have had work done, and it shows. But I mean, like, when they want to dress up and go out and get attention, they can fucking do it.
Yeah,
it's very impressive.
I don't want the attention. Like, I'm very different, I guess. But like, I mean, when I'm performing, it's one thing, but like outside of performing, I just don't want the attention. Try not to.
And that goes back to what you're saying. Not every trans woman's the same.
Yeah. Just like not how every straight man is the same, or straight woman, or cisgender woman. Like, we're all different, you know?
Very, very true. I'm definitely not the same as other people from my background. I'm probably very, very different. But I know I'm not the only one, so hopefully.
I know, I'm super excited because I feel like this will open like more conversations for other people too.
Yeah.
You know, reconsider their thoughts.
You know what? What's funny? We didn't touch on half the shit we talked about last night, so we know we have a lot more material we keep doing these with. So that's good.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I mean, I started my podcast, and so now I'm just gonna continue to start my, talk and.
Yeah, just what you're doing right here. Just get out as much stuff as possible. And I'm always,
talk about anything.
I'll always
trying to do just other stuff too.
And I'll always be willing to come and talk with you if you want. And but yeah, I think we covered quite a bit for today.
I know. Thank you so much.
Problem.
I'm gonna link all of your social media platforms in the description box.
I appreciate it. I'll send it to you when I send you the video and everything.
I'm like super excited.
Well, thank you, Chanel. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you brought me on so we could talk. I enjoyed it, and I hope we get to do it again really soon.
Thank you.